Bring in political commentator Michael Gagan into this conversation. Michael, thanks for joining us on CTV News Channel. It's a big night for the NDP, historic for John Horgan, a political gamble worth playing for the Premier.
Absolutely. It is a historic win for the NDP. They've never done so well in an election as they did tonight in terms of the popular vote. John Horgan, an incumbent Premier, going from a minority to a majority. This is a very big win. This was a number of people are referring to this election as an orange crush because they made some historic breakthroughs in terms of the Fraser Valley, areas that have never voted NDP before. But certainly a big win tonight for John Horgan and the NDP.
So, Michael, what would you attribute this win to? Was it solely handling of the pandemic?
That was certainly a part of it. John Horgan was seen as someone who cared about the average British Columbian, seemed to govern in a fairly, common sense kind of manner, seemed to show genuine compassion and concern for the plight of people. And at this particular time, I think people were satisfied enough that they didn't want to switch horses in terms of who was governing through this pandemic. But you also had a situation where the Liberals had a leader that failed to spark the interest of the electorate in terms of his speaking style, getting people excited. It just wasn't there, and that showed in tonight's election results as well.
Speaking of the Liberals, we know a lot of work that needs to be done for the NDP now because, of course, we're in the midst of a pandemic, economy, and several other issues BC is facing. But what happens to the Liberal leader? The Liberals are decimated with this election. What's the future looking like for Andrew Wilkinson?
Well, the expectation is that at some point, perhaps after the mail-in ballot results are known, and by the way, those results are expected to favor the NDP more than the Liberals. Mm-hmm. So if anything, it'll strengthen their majority rather than undermine it. The expectation is that Andrew Wilkinson will announce some kind of process or path towards resignation, and in terms of the party selecting leader. That's the expectation. If he doesn't step aside, I imagine there is going to be some internal tumult within the BC Liberals.
Michael, here's an observation. New Brunswick called for snap elections with a majority win for BC, and now the NDP has come with a majority in BC. Do you see and do you think that holding elections during the pandemic for the incumbents is turning out to be a good strategy?
Yeah, there's a tremendous advantage as an incumbent government. First of all, assuming you've done a half-decent job in terms of managing the pandemic and whatnot, that's going to be in your favor. But also in these times where people are forced to socially distance and socially isolate, the incumbent government, the incumbent party, has a real advantage because the opposition parties can't have those, big rallies and door-to-door canvassing and the other things that they count on to try and, make sure their voice is heard over that of the incumbent party. So clearly, the unprecedented times under which we're campaigning does favor incumbent governments.
All right, we leave it at that. Thank you for helping us with the coverage this hour. Michael Gagan, appreciate your time.
Very welcome.
And over in